First, live, local. The 6 o'clock news starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Good evening. Welcome to the 6 o'clock news. I'm Pete Ferryman. Nora Hart has the night off. First at 6, an historic summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un is just minutes from getting underway. This is a live look right now from Singapore. I'm told that President Trump, just moments ago, stepped out of his limousine. The two leaders, President Trump and Kim Jong-un, are expected to appear here, right here on this stage, moments from now. This is the first time that a U.S. president has met face-to-face with a North Korean leader. Fox 12's Elizabeth Din is following the new developments live in the studio for us. Liz?
Highly anticipated meeting, Pete. As we saw, it went back and forth for quite some time, and now we know it is on. And it's set for, of course, Tuesday, June the 12th, and it is, of course, 9 a.m. over in Singapore right now. So here's what's going to happen. This all starts with a photo op that'll make history. President Trump expected to shake hands as the world watches. And let's get another look at those live pictures. President Trump and Kim Jong-un have been staying at separate hotels there in Singapore, less than a mile apart. Today, they traveled to another hotel on the nearby resort island of Sentosa, which is actually home to a Universal Studios theme park. After shaking hands, Trump and Kim will first have a one-on-one meeting with only their translators present. That's it. After that will be larger meetings with their aides. On top of the agenda, whether North Korea is really willing to denuclearize. Other topics expected to be on the agenda reportedly include the sanctions the U.S. has imposed on North Korea, officially ending the Korean War, and normalizing relations between the two nations. Well, with so much to accomplish in just one meeting, officials acknowledge future meetings are definitely a possibility.
President Trump is going into this meeting with confidence, a positive attitude, and eagerness for real progress. President Trump believes that Kim Jong-un has an unprecedented opportunity to change the trajectory of our relationship and bring peace and prosperity to his country. We are hopeful this summit will have set the conditions for future productive talks.
Before leaving for Singapore, President Trump said his gut instincts will guide him once he gets into the room, saying he'll know almost immediately whether a deal can be made. And we'll be following this story throughout the night. Be sure to stay with Fox 12 and over at kptv.com. We'll have the latest as well. Reporting live in studio, Elizabeth Din, Fox 12 Oregon.
Liz, thanks. Yeah, we are keeping a close eye on these live pictures out of out of Singapore, excuse me, where North Korean leader Kim Jong-un is expected to shake the hand of President Trump at any moment. Moments ago, both stepped out of their respective limousines, and this is where we're expecting that first photo opportunity to happen. And when that happens, we'll bring it to you live. As the president attends the summit with Kim Jong-un, he just announced a senior member of his team is in the hospital. President Trump tweeted just minutes ago that Larry Kudlow has suffered a heart attack and is now at the Walter Reed Medical Center. Kudlow is the director of the U.S. National Economic Council. All right, we'll get back to Singapore and what's happening with the North Korea situation momentarily. Meanwhile, in local news, a quick-thinking young woman jumped in to help a man deputies say was attacked in Hazel Dell this afternoon. The woman says that she thought the victim was going to die. Clark County deputies say this all happened near 9600 Northwest 18th Avenue at about 12:30. This map gives you an idea of where that is. Fox 12's John Hendricks is live tonight in Clark County with the interview you'll see only on 12. John?
Well, Pete, that woman told us today that she heard some yelling and screaming outside. She went out there and found a man lying on the ground, bleeding from the head. She tells us that...
John, I have to interrupt you. A moment in history unfolding before our eyes. President Trump and Kim Jong-un shaking hands, meeting each other for the very first time. This is the photo opportunity that we had anticipated. The world watching now as the leader of the United States and the president of North Korea meet for the first time. They're now stepping away to go into that first meeting, whereas Liz just reported a moment ago that they are going to be meeting one-on-one, essentially, with the exception of their two interpreters, for about 45 minutes before engaging in longer discussions and more in-depth discussions. So there, a moment of history live in Singapore as President Trump and Kim Jong-un met and shook hands for the first time. We, of course, will have more on that coming up. We've got our eye on that. But want to get back to that news that we were bringing you earlier, where John Hendricks is standing by. John, sorry to interrupt you. History unfolds, and when it does, we like to bring it to our viewers live. But tell us what's happening in Clark County right now.
Yeah, well, Pete, that young woman who we had mentioned earlier, she said that she was inside her house here in Clark County, her grandmother's house, rather, and when she heard some screaming outside, she went outside, and that's when they saw a man that was lying on the ground bleeding from the head. She says that some first aid training that she had gotten in the Girl Scouts kicked in as they waited for medics to arrive. Crime scene tape and deputies with evidence bags fill Northwest 18th Avenue in Hazeldale. But before all this,
the victim's sister started screaming, he's not moving, I don't know what to do.
Clark County deputies say this is where a man was attacked by a neighbor who lives across the street. The victim telling them that he was hit with a hammer.
There was so much blood coming out of his head.
Investigators are still trying to figure out what, if anything, he was hit with.
I had my hand on his head trying to stop the bleeding, and then I kept screaming for the ladies over there. I was like, get me towels, get me water, but they were like in shock, you know.
With family and friends in a state of shock, Renatia Allstrand says that she and her grandmother, a war medic, jumped in to help that man.
And I kept telling him, I was like, honey, please don't move, just please stay still. You know, it's gonna be all right, just please don't move. Because I thought he was gonna die. I was terrified.
For what could only seem like forever, they waited for deputies, medics, anyone to show up and help.
We tried to keep him responsive as best we could. We tried to keep him still.
Eventually, those medics came and took the man to the hospital where he is being treated for life-threatening injuries. Shaken, Allstrand is just praying that everything works out for the better.
I just hope he's okay. They tell me which hospital he went to. I'm probably gonna call later or go by and see if he's all right.
Clark County deputies say that they arrested 30-year-old Sayun Suli. He's being held here at the Clark County Jail on an assault charge. Deputies say they've spoken with him before in the past and add that they believe that he was suffering from some mental health issues. Reporting live tonight, John Hendricks, Fox 12 Oregon.
John, thank you. Suspected street racing in Northeast Portland led to an overnight arrest after officers say one of the drivers drove straight toward them. Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez is live at 148th and Marine Drive, where this type of thing has been an ongoing problem, but this was quite a provocation, at least according to authorities, by one of these street racers. Tell us what happened.
Here in the parking lot of this business park, you can still see the tire marks left over from the activities of the nights before. People that work here told us cars pretty regularly come in here and peel out, burn rubber, do cookies, and drift, and this is hardly the first time police have been called in to calm things down. High speeds associated with street racing have long been a problem on Marine Drive in Northeast Portland, but lately things have been spilling into the area's business parks, where on Monday mornings, remnants of the previous night's activities are left behind.
The marks on the streets, you know, you'll see some bottles and, cigarette cans knocked over and things.
Late last night, police who were called to the area say they found close to 50 people who appeared to be racing. They say a pickup truck drove toward an officer's cruiser, forcing him to veer out of the pickup's path. During the chase that followed, the officer said several other cars tried to get in the way. The officer eventually stopped and arrested the driver of that pickup, 21-year-old Giovanni Villalobos, as well as 23-year-old Audrey Parrish, who police say tried to interfere with the chase. Greg Simon, a truck driver for one of the companies in the business park, says this type of activity happens all the time.
I've come back and been securing the truck in the building, and the police would be coming in.
Does it interfere with what you're trying to do?
It interferes with all the trucks that drive here at night.
It can also be dangerous. In early May, police blamed street racing for this crash on Marine Drive.
It's something that you always, hear about. Everything is fine until somebody gets hurt one day, so you always hope that that doesn't happen.
And as for the burned rubber in the parking lot, Greg Simon says he understands the need to blow off steam, but doesn't think this is the best place or the best way to do it.
Do you think somebody could get hurt doing this?
Somebody could very well get hurt. What if they ran into my truck?
Police tonight want to remind everyone the street racing is dangerous and illegal. The folks arrested last night are facing some pretty serious criminal charges, including reckless driving. Reporting live in Northeast Portland, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
All right, Simon, thanks so much. I want to get to some breaking news right now. These are live pictures now. A moment that many thought would never happen. The first time ever that a sitting U.S. president has met with a leader of North Korea. You saw just an image there moments ago of President Trump and Kim Jong-un just about 2 or 3 minutes after their initial handshake and photo op. They are set to meet now for about 45 minutes in Singapore, just with their interpreters, nobody else. The two of them for 45 minutes before they then have a longer meeting with Secretary of State Pompeo and his North Korean counterpart. But yeah, this is the culmination of months of anticipation. And here is the moment, folks. Just about 2 or 3 minutes ago. And if there was audio, I would let you hear it. But the feed coming to us from Singapore, silent. We don't know what was said between the two. But again, the culmination of a lot of diplomatic wrangling and negotiations. President Trump this afternoon trying to lower expectations as to what could be achieved during this meeting. But yeah, there you go, a moment that many thought would never happen again. The first time that a sitting U.S. president has met with a leader of North Korea. And as we saw from the live picture a moment ago, the two of them now meeting one-on-one with their interpreters. We'll have more, of course, from Singapore as the developments unfold.
The 6 o'clock news is just getting started.
Still to come, OHSU's aerial tram is soon to grind to a halt. We'll break down the impact of its longest closure ever. Also ahead, if you're flying out of PDX, you may need to budget a little more money. We'll break down the increased fees that have nothing to do with flying. Plus, net neutrality is no more. The new rules on the internet, they've taken effect. The opinions couldn't be more mixed in the nation's capital.
And your Father's Day forecast is coming up. Don't forget, it's next week. And I'll also show you what you can expect here the rest of the week. Got a little bit of rain in the forecast. I'll show you when coming up.
You're watching the 6 o'clock news. First, live, local.
All right, want to take you back to a historic moment that happened just moments ago. This is video that was recorded just about 10 minutes ago. President Trump and North Korean President Kim Jong-un meeting for the first time ever that a president from the United States has met with a leader of North Korea, a sitting president. Right now, the two are meeting one-on-one. We're told the plan called for a one-on-one meeting between the two, just with their interpreters, before a larger meeting with President Trump's chief of staff, Secretary of State Pompeo, and National Security Advisor also expected to join. So we are staying on top of that, and we'll bring you more developments as just a unreal moment, really, for many people who would never think that this would have happened as it unfolds there in Singapore. 9:15 in the morning on Tuesday in Singapore. Of course, we've got local news to cover here. Some patients and employees at OHSU will soon have to find a different way to get to and from the hospital's two main campuses, at least temporarily. The hospital is shutting down its popular and distinctive tram line for several weeks. Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez explains the reason for the move and the alternatives.
The closure is to allow for maintenance. The giant cables that hold the tram in the air get worn after a while and need to be adjusted. During the closure, the section of cable that had been resting on the tower will be moved down, something the hospital says has to be done every 12 years. According to OHSU, the tram typically takes about 5,000 people up Markham Hill in the mornings and another 5,000 back down in the afternoon. 85 to 90% of those people are affiliated with OHSU. The other 10 to 15% are patients. OHU says hospital services won't be disrupted, and several options will be put in place to get people where they need to go, including an expanded bike valet program with new e-bikes, and
we will run shuttles. So there'll be shuttles from the South Waterfront up to Markham Hill and back, running all day. So from 5:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night.
The closure begins June 23rd and will last for 5 weeks, so plan accordingly. Reporting in Southwest Portland, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
A heads up, if you're flying out of PDX, starting today, you'll be paying more to park at the airport. The changes apply to the Gold Key Valet and the two other lots. The valet service has the biggest increase from $30 a day to $35. The daily rate for the long-term garage has increased from $21 per day to $24. And the economy lot has gone from $10 a day to $12 per day. All right, let's turn it over to Brian McMillan. And Brian, take it away.
A lot going on, for sure. All right, let's take a look right now. It's beautiful outside here from Portland out to Newport, Lincoln City, Mount Hood, Stoller Winery. I can't find a cloud in the sky in any of our cameras. It's gorgeous this afternoon, or this evening, I guess, now. Current temperatures are in the low 70s. Very average day in Portland, hitting 72 degrees. East of the Cascades right now, we're in the 60s and 70s. Overall, real nice day across the state. We start off with a little bit of cloud cover, and that all tapered off to sunshine because high pressure is settling in. Now, this isn't going to stick around for long because we have this guy, a system just offshore. That's going to bring in a chance of some showers as we roll into Wednesday. I'm going to show you that here with our cloud and rain forecast. You can see as we head through the night tonight, we are staying clear. It'll be pretty darn cool here in the valley as well. Once we get into tomorrow afternoon, especially on the northern end of our forecast area from about, let's say, Aurora up north to Kelso and Longview, we're going to see a lot more high cloud cover there the second half of the day. And then once we get into early Wednesday morning, some light showers will roll through. But by 10 o'clock, look at this, most of these are in the upper elevations, and we should be dry most of the rest of Wednesday. Maybe an isolated shower here and there, but that would be about it. And then Thursday stays mainly dry as well, except for up in the upper elevations. So this is just going to be a kind of a quick hit here. And for most of us, you won't even notice it because it'll happen in the early morning hours. So here's a look at your forecast for tomorrow. We're starting off pretty darn cool. Mid-40s there to start. And some of the spots around the metro area, especially the outlying areas, are going to be a little closer to 40 degrees. So a real chilly start to the day. But we're going to warm up fast. That sun shines overhead. The sun angle will kick us up to about 70 degrees there by the time we hit the noon hour. And then the clouds start to return once we get into the late afternoon and early evening hours. But we're still warming up real nice to 81 degrees and staying mild there once we get into the late evening hours. And then take a look, once we get into Wednesday and Thursday, those temperatures are going to plummet with that system coming through. It's also bringing in some cooler air. Mainly dry for Thursday, then on Friday, of course, Timbers game there, a U.S. Open Cup match. We're partly sunny. We're going to be completely dry that day. I expect some sunshine in the afternoon, very comfortable temperatures in the mid-70s. And then the heat is on. Once we get into Father's Day weekend, I see those temperatures soaring back into the mid-80s here for Sunday and then again for Monday. And Pete, I'm kind of looking ahead here, about 7 to 10 days out. Some of our models have us getting really hot, maybe our hottest temperatures of the year so far.
Okay, Brian, thanks. Still ahead, a terrifying case of road rage. Why the victim says a machete wasn't the scariest thing the suspect pulled on him. Also ahead, fire tears through a local church, causing the steeple to collapse. Only on 12, the pastor explains how they're going to move forward and why they're feeling optimistic. New at 6, a Washington man says he's grateful to be alive after a case of road rage. Police say a teenager fired at him with an AK-47. For Fox 12, Joanna Small tells us what led up to the moments where bullets went whizzing by his head.
Nick Frausto has had his conceal and carry permit for more than 25 years.
Well, you never think you're going to use it. You really don't.
This is his bullet-ridden pickup truck after a road rage incident quickly escalated to a gun battle. Frausto says it started when he honked at a truck that cut him off. While at a stoplight, he says the man in the driver's seat, police later identified as this man, 19-year-old Alexander Anderson, stuck his arm out the window and slapped a machete on the side of his own vehicle. Frausto called 911. The pair turned the corner, and that's when Frausto says Anderson stopped.
He immediately got out, started charging me with this machete while I'm on the operator, with 911 operator. So I told the operator, I'm going to fire a warning shot, fired a warning shot. The kid ran back to his car.
Frausto thought it was over, but investigators say Anderson lived just around the corner, and he came back, armed with an AK-47 and opened fire.
And he started firing, and I saw shots. I started firing, backing up, pulled out back on Holmes Point, went down towards the park and hid in some luxury homes down the water and hidden behind the garage. So.
The bullet holes in the windshield are Frausto's. The holes in the passenger side upholstery and glass are Anderson's.
As you can see, that round is only 22 inches from where my head was.
Court will find probable cause.
Anderson appeared in King County Court where the prosecutor argued even without a criminal history,
this defendant does present an extreme danger to the community.
Frausto says even extreme danger is an understatement, even with a gun on his hip and the training to use it.
Yeah, you got to be prepared, and I'm not saying I was prepared, I got lucky.
And police say they searched the suspect's bedroom and found numerous other firearms and firearm accessories. He's facing assault charges and a drive-by shooting charge. A popular Oregon coast attraction is bouncing back after nearly being wiped out a couple of years ago. Coming up, a closer look at what happened to the starfish population and what researchers are learning about their recovery. Also ahead, a southeast Portland home goes up in flames, while one neighbor says she wishes that she could have done more than just call 911. President Trump is meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in an historic summit right now in Singapore. About 30 minutes ago, the two leaders met for the first time, shaking hands while posing for photos. Months of diplomatic wrangling making this historic moment happen. Moments after meeting Kim, President Trump said that he predicts that he will have a great relationship with Kim Jong-un. The two then sat down and briefly talked before reporters before beginning their private meeting. Kim said that the summit, we came here after overcoming all the obstacles. That's what he had to say about the summit itself. The two are expected to talk about North Korea's willingness to denuclearize. We, of course, will be following this story through the night. Stay with us right here on Fox 12 and at kptv.com. Today marks a major shift for the internet. New rules took effect today affecting how internet service providers do business. This comes after the FCC voted last year to repeal net neutrality. The big question for many internet users tonight, how noticeable will the changes be?
What this FCC has said simply is that we're going to go back to the light touch of regulation that was in place for the first 2 decades of its existence.
The controversial repeal of the Obama-era net neutrality protections is officially in effect. The FCC threw out a set of regulations on internet service providers that prevented them from interfering with internet traffic to favor their own apps and websites. FCC Chairman Anjit Pai says the old net neutrality rules discouraged internet service providers from making investments in their networks, which would provide customers with better and faster browsing online.
The internet is going to be better than ever. We're going to see better, faster, cheaper internet access for people who are too long have been on the wrong side of the digital divide.
Under the new regulations, internet providers will be able to block, speed up, or slow down access to certain content if they choose. This is leaving some consumers worried that corporations will charge more for internet use. In May, the Senate voted to restore net neutrality, but the House never advanced the legislation. Democratic House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi said in a statement, quote, "Democrats know that every American deserves access to the power of the internet. We are fighting to give the American people a better deal than the raw deal Republicans are sticking them with." A majority of the big internet providers such as Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon have said that they will not block or slow content because they say doing so would be bad for business. Oregon, meanwhile, has already passed a measure that aims to help protect net neutrality. It requires public agencies in Oregon to purchase internet service from companies that provide equal access to all web traffic. All right, let's take a break from the news, check in with Brian now on what's turned out to be just a beautiful afternoon and evening here in Oregon and Southwest Washington.
Kind of a perfect afternoon. Not too hot, not too cold. We had a little bit of cloud cover this morning. Now we're to the sunshine. I got to show you this because we had such a cool weekend and a showery weekend down here in the lowlands. Up on the mountain, we got some snow. 54 degrees is our temperature right now, though, at Government Camp. But this is what it looked like at Timberline Lodge here this morning. Watch what happened as those temps warmed up. That sun angle sure does help the pavement warm up. And then as we headed into the late afternoon, early evening, that snow was almost completely gone from this weekend. So your temperatures up on the mountain, yeah, well into the 40s out there at Timberline, 50s for Government Camp. High temperatures today around the metro area looked like this, low 70s across the board. And tomorrow, for everybody, is going to be warmer. But we got to get through a cool night tonight with temperatures dropping down into the mid-40s for most of us. But some of the outlying areas are going to be down into the low 40s here. So we're starting off cool, but we'll have lots of morning sunshine. That's going to bump those temperatures up fast. We should be close to 70 degrees by the noon hour and into the low 80s for the afternoon. No big storms this week, Pete, but we do have a little bit of rain ahead. I'll show you wind coming up.
Brian, thank you. Only on 12, we're hearing from a local pastor after a fire destroyed a large portion of his church. The Hillside Bible Church off of Northwest Clapshaw Hill Road was heavily damaged. Witnesses reported seeing the front of the church on fire just before 6 o'clock Saturday evening. Forest Grove Fire said within 5 minutes of arriving, the steeple structure of the church had collapsed. Today, the pastor talked about the support they're receiving.
We are amazed at the outpouring of the community. People have been so good to us. We have over 10 churches that have offered their services to us of using temporary facilities.
He said that somebody even donated $1,000 to the church. The pastor says that they do have insurance. Investigators say the cause is electrical. 5 people are dead, including 3 children, after an explosion in Washington state. This is what is left after the explosion and fire at a cabin in Brennan. That's about 60 miles north of Olympia on the Hood Canal. Neighbors called 911 just after 1 o'clock yesterday morning. Crews say a family of 5 died in the explosion and fire. The cause is under investigation, but the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says they do not believe it was part of a crime. A house in southeast Portland went up in flames this afternoon. The people who lived inside the house on Roan Street managed to get out in time. Unfortunately, their dog did not. Fire crews worked quickly to stop it from spreading. One neighbor we spoke with says she saw the smoke coming from the house and called 911.
I was worried about the dog, but it was like quickly happened so quickly I couldn't even, I'm pretty sure the door's unlocked, but I couldn't, go get the dog, and I'm really sad about that, and I'm sad about their loss.
A rapid intervention team was kept on standby as fire crews worked to put out the fire to make sure that firefighters are also safe. The investigation into what caused the fire continues. Polk County deputies are investigating a murder and have now identified a man arrested in the case. They say that Dennis Sarver shot and killed Earl Jambura III, known as Buddy. Deputies found his body on Saturday afternoon on Black Rock Road near Falls City. That's west of Salem. Court documents show Sarver called his daughters and told them that he had shot someone. Court documents show Sarver admitted to dispatch that he had shot someone and was on his way to turn himself in. Sarver reportedly told one of his daughters that Buddy had assaulted him and threatened them, so he shot him, I should say. One of Sarver's daughters told detectives that Sarver and Buddy would often drink and get into fights. Oregon City Police are looking for 2 armed suspects who beat up 5 people early this morning. Police were called to the Oregon City View Manor Apartments on Longview Way before 4 o'clock this morning. They say 5 people, 3 men and 2 women, all in their 30s, were inside the apartment at the time. Officers say 2 men then entered. One had a baseball bat and the other had a handgun. One victim was beaten so badly they had to be taken to the hospital. People who live in the complex say they're upset about the attack.
It's really unfortunate because a lot of us are just trying to really bounce back, and
just never think of it happen, but it sadly does.
There is a lot of good people that live here and just trying to get back on our feet after hard stretch of life and whatnot.
Police are trying to determine if the suspects knew the victims and targeted them. No suspect information has been released except that they left in a red car. Anyone with information should contact the Oregon City Police Department. Portland police are looking for Fox 12's Most Wanted, who is accused of robbing a local bar. Police say 2 men went into the Barn Tavern on North Denver Avenue near Lombard Street at about 1:15 this morning. Police say one of them showed a gun, took an unknown amount of cash, and left. No one was hurt. The robbers are described as 2 men between the ages of 20 and 30 years old. Well, 2 men died over the weekend from their injuries in a crash in Marion County last week. The victims were all in the same car on McKay Road near French Prairie Road when a pickup truck hit them, causing their car to crash with the car in front of it. Investigators say the driver died at the scene. 2 other men in the car died over the weekend. All 3 men were Dutch nationals and had just arrived in the U.S. for work. The 2 other drivers were taken to the hospital. One of the victims, mowed down by a hit-and-run driver near Portland State University, is raising money for other victims of violence. Sabrina Vuskin was one of 3 people hit while walking on the sidewalk last month. In a post on a GoFundMe page, she says she's raising money to donate to children who have experienced violence. Vuskin says that she was left with a broken arm and nose and other injuries, but she says she's also seen heroism and the support from the community. The man accused of hitting Vuskin and 2 other people pleaded not guilty to attempted aggravated murder and other charges. Still to come, firefighters called out an unusual rescue. How a St. Bernard managed to get stuck on a portion of a rooftop and how those fire crews managed to get him down. And a reminder that you can now add Fox 12 to your Amazon Alexa flash briefing. Just search for Fox 12 in your Echo's flash briefing settings and get local news updates throughout the day. For all the details, visit kptv.com/Alexa. Breaking news, President Trump and Kim Jong-un are meeting one-on-one right now in Singapore. The president spoke briefly after they shook hands for the first time.
I feel really great. We're going to have a great discussion, and I think tremendous success. They'll be tremendously successful. And it's my honor, and we will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt.
The meeting is being held on a resort island in Singapore. Kim said of the summit, quote, "We came here after overcoming all the obstacles." After speaking briefly in front of reporters, the two headed into a one-on-one meeting where they are now with only their translators present. And here is video of the moment the two first shook hands. The first time in history a sitting U.S. president and a North Korean leader have met face-to-face. They are discussing the denuclearization of North Korea. After the one-on-one meetings, larger meetings will be held with aides present. We invite you to stay with Fox 12 and KPTV.com as we follow this story through the night. Starfish on the Oregon coast are gradually recovering after a disease wiped out more than half the population. As Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez explains, researchers at Oregon State University are working to find answers about where the disease came from and whether the starfish will fully bounce back.
So you can see them from here on a calm day.
At low tide, Bruce Mengi and his team scan the rocks off the coast south of Yachats looking for signs of life.
A young one that's got some damage.
Starfish, also known as sea stars, are making a comeback on the Oregon coast after their populations were decimated by a wasting disease 4 years ago.
Animals developed lesions on their bodies. Sometimes those got worse and turned into holes through their outer body wall. Sometimes arms fell off.
The disease wiped out between 60 and 90% of the sea star population at any given site along the coast.
A reduction of 60 to 90% is a dramatic departure from the stable pattern that we had seen for decades before that.
They may not look like it, but sea stars are actually top-of-the-line tide pool predators. And when their populations are healthy, they chow down on these mussels and barnacles and keep their populations in check.
They're the lion of the intertidal. If you lose a key predator along the whole coast, the whole structure, the whole pattern of abundance and distribution of species will change in a major way.
2, 4, 5 are your options.
Now, Mengi and his team are trying to figure out how tide pools along the coast changed in the absence of sea stars.
It's a disaster as far as the sea stars are concerned, but it's an incredible research opportunity.
And so far, their research is showing that sea stars are pretty resilient.
The population is rebounding. A lot of young ones are present.
Right now, no one knows what caused the wasting disease. Mengi says there's no clear link to climate patterns or ocean conditions, and the disease is still infecting some animals.
That one is in seriously bad shape. Once the wasting is that bad, they're not going to survive. In a day or two, it'll be a puddle of goo, probably.
And although sea stars are showing signs of recovery, Mengi says coastal visitors have noticed their absence.
I've talked to a lot of people over the last few years coming out to tide pool and just look around on the shore. They really miss seeing the many colorful sea stars that were present.
But Mengi says the starfish that survived the die-off may have a resistance to the wasting disease, which means their offspring might also, eventually bringing coastal tide pools back into balance as they grow.
I would expect that within the next 3 or 4 years, the population, the large animals, might well return.
Near Yachats, Simon Gutierrez, Fox 12 Oregon.
Usually firefighters get calls about cats stuck in trees, but in Illinois, well, they got a different type of call. St. Bernard stuck on a rooftop. Yeah, the curious dog named Whiskey managed to sneak away from the watchful eye of his dog sitter, but the loud commotion gave him away. Check it out. Turns out the 180-pound dog had knocked out a screen and jumped through a window. Thankfully, he landed on a small patch of rooftop there.
I mean, he was standing there, and he kept looking over on the garage. I'm like, don't jump. I can't imagine what that dispatch message sounded like, yeah, there is a St. Bernard on the roof.
Yeah, don't hear that every day. The fire department sprung into action, removing the entire window. With cooperation and a lot of pushing and pulling, Whiskey was back on the ground. All right.
That's a big boy, and you can't exactly just like one person lift him up or anything like that.
Been doing this a long time. First St. Bernard on a roof.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to say. Yeah.
Always something new here on Fox 12.
That's right.
How about that? All right. Well, beautiful day. This is not something new. We've been seeing a lot of this here over the past couple of months. But boy, we had a couple of very cool days over the weekend. Saturday and Sunday actually brought snow up to the mountains. But look at the coast right now. They were really cool here over the past couple of days as well. Pretty rainy as well. And we're at 63 degrees. It's the warmest they've been over the past couple of days, and just lots of sunshine. Everybody out there on the beach enjoying it. So this is what we had over the past couple of weeks. Yesterday, only making it to 58 degrees. It's almost 15 degrees below average for this time of year. But today, we were very average at 72 degrees. Been kind of on a roller coaster ride over the past couple of weeks. Tomorrow, we're going to continue that trend and move on up. We're going to be back into the 80s. West side in the low 70s, 68 out in Milwaukee. Camas, a little cooler at 66 degrees. And up there in Sandy at about 1,000 feet, we're at 65 degrees. Tonight, we drop down into the 40s for most of us. You can see some of the outlying areas getting pretty darn chilly down into the low 40s. That's because we'll have clear skies tonight. That allows all the heat from the day to escape up into space. And with that, it really cools us off. So we'll be cool, dry, and clear tonight. And then tomorrow we start off with lots of sunshine. That'll be for the coast and for those of us here inland. But the clouds roll in the afternoon on the coast, and we'll see them here in the early evening in the western valleys. So 60s, we'll be close to 70 degrees out there in Tillamook. Here in the valleys, 81 in Portland, 82 down south in Salem. Expect lots of morning sunshine. Again, a cool start. We're going to warm up fast. We should be back into the 70s by noon. And then there's your high, 81 degrees for Portland. Columbia River Gorge will see a nice day as well. Nice calm winds. Temps in the mid-80s out in the Dalles. Will be in the upper 70s out at Multnomah Falls. Up on Mount Hood, mostly sunny skies. 70s out there at Government Camp. That's a far cry from where they were just, well, yesterday, with temperatures pretty darn close to freezing there up at Timberline Lodge and at Government Camp. Eastern Oregon, sunny and warm, 70s and 80s. And take a look at your day tomorrow. Pretty nice one. Yeah, big jump in temperatures between 8 a.m. and noon. And then we should top out in the low 80s there by the 6 o'clock hour. Not much warming up happening here in the early evening hours because those clouds are going to be back. So here's your 7-day forecast. Morning showers are expected on Wednesday, and look at that, we cool right down. But we dry out for Thursday and Friday, and we're warming up heading into Father's Day weekend. That'll be a great weekend for Dad to spend some time out in the yard or on the deck or maybe go golfing. Looking gorgeous there to start early next week. Hey, stick around. We'll be right back.
You're watching the 6 o'clock news. First, live, local.